This hearing wasn't supposed to be about crypto, corruption, or national security until Gregory Meeks blew it wide open and demanded a yes or no answer the Treasury Secretary refused to give.
Secretary Bessent, if I'm not mistaken, you were working in the financial service industry during the late 1980s, correct?
I was.
Thank you. And I'm wondering, do you recall or you're knowledgeable of the Keating 5 scandal back then?
Yes, sir. And I will point out that I was.
I don't want to.
No. I will point out that
limited time. I have limited time.
I identified.
The gentleman is from the secretary. Is the gentleman from New York Times?
So I just want to make sure that everyone knows who doesn't know that the Keating 5 scandal involved 5 U.S. senators accused of pressuring the Federal Home Loan Bank Board to expedite and give more consideration to the case of Charles Keating Jr., who ran the California-based Lincoln Savings and Loans. It led to a 14-month investigation unveiling how 5 U.S. senators and staff ended up with more than $1 million in contributions, 4 trips to the Bahamas, and all expenses paid stays at resort hotels. Following the scandal, the industry saw sweeping regulatory changes that was launched by then-President George H.W. Bush. Now, Mr. Secretary, I'm sure you can agree conflicts of interest and improper influence by U.S. elected officials over bank regulators weakened supervisory independence and ultimately impose massive losses on consumers and taxpayers. I think that we can all agree upon that. And as we know, the basic lessons from the post-Keating reforms still applies today when the Office of the Comptroller of Currency, the OCC, is deciding to get a bank charter. I think we can stimulate that. Now, Mr. Bessent, as our nation's treasurer, I'm sure you also know that a foreign-linked investment firm tied to the United Arab Emirates government quietly bought about half of the Trump family's crypto company, World Liberty Financial. And at the very same time, the President of the United States was dealing with that country on foreign policy. Now, Eric Trump, the president's son and co-founder of World Liberty Financial, said, and I quote, "I'm not going to get into who the investors are, but I've got some pretty meaningful investors," end of quote. Lack of transparency. And it didn't end there. When Trump fans bought the tokens, they thought they were getting the deal of a century. But what they didn't know was that only Trump and his sons had the sole power to decide who can sell the token and when. Today, the price of the token has fallen over 50%, and the Trump fans who bought the token are now begging to get out. Now, I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up. You can see it for yourself on the World Liberty Financial Discussion Forum yourself, Mr. Secretary. So this is no longer just about a shady crypto deal or a possible gift. When a foreign-linked investor is putting hundreds of millions of dollars into a company controlled by the president's family, and at the same time, this president is conducting foreign policy with that country. You know what that causes or creates? It creates a national security concern. So I'm not going to ask much of you, Mr. Secretary. I just want to know whether you will commit today to pause and heighten the scrutiny of any bank charter or licensing application at the OCC connected to the World Liberty Financial until all of these conflicts of interest and foreign influence reviews are completed and shared with the United States Congress. All I need to know is, will you halt it and do a complete investigation and scrutiny of this licensing application? All you have to ask is yes or no.
No, Congressman. The
OCC
is an independent entity, and I would know, Congressman.
So I take that as a no.
You traveled to Venezuela.
I take that as a no.
On behalf of your donors.
That as a no.
On behalf of your donors.
You do not want to answer that question. I take that as a no.
For a $7 billion.
I'm asking you to do your responsibility as Secretary of the Treasury.
Into Venezuela.
You do not.
Mr. Meeks,
time
has expired.
You cannot erase what you did in 2006.
He's the one that went past your time, Mr. Chairman.
No,
he did not answer my question, and he wouldn't pass the time.
He had 6 seconds left to try to answer your question, and the
It was a yes or no. It was a yes or no answer. I asked him, will he? No, it was
Gentlemen,
yes
the
or
chair
no.
recognizes
OCC
the
is an
gentleman.
independent
Stop
Mr.
covering
Bessent.
for the president.
Yeah, well.
Stop being his flunky.
And
Gentlemen.
He's talking to me. I'm responding
your
back to him.
2006 trip to Venezuela.
Stop covering
tell
for
the
the president.
Secretary
Don't be a flunky. Work for the American
Secretary,
people.
Mr. Meeks.
Trip to Venezuela.
Mr. Meeks.
Work for the American people.
And maybe
Don't
you're
be a
going- maybe you're
cover-up
going to-
for a mob.
Maybe you're going to
As
see your
long as
friend
he talks
Nicholas
to us.
Maduro
I will.
in
Gentleman is
Brooklyn
not
prison.
recognized. Mr. Bessent, please. I recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Sessions.
What you're watching here isn't just a heated exchange. It's a warning flare about how corruption actually works in modern politics. Quietly, through conflicts of interest, hidden money, and officials who suddenly forget how to answer simple questions. Congressman Gregory Meeks starts by reminding everyone of the Keating Five scandal, a moment in American history when senators used their influence to protect a crooked banker and taxpayers paid the price. The lesson of that scandal was supposed to be simple and permanent. When politicians and financial interests get too close, supervision collapses and regular people get burned. That's why we have rules about independence, transparency, and conflicts of interest in banking and finance. Then, Meeks brings it to the present. A foreign-linked investment firm tied to the UAE quietly buys about half of a crypto company controlled by the Trump family. At the same time, the President of the United States is dealing with that same country on foreign policy. That alone should set off alarms. Add to that the fact that buyers of this token didn't even control when they could sell. Only Trump and his sons did. And now, the token has lost more than half its value, leaving supporters trapped and begging to get out. That's not just a bad investment story. That's a governance and ethics nightmare. Meeks makes the real point crystal clear. This isn't just about a shady crypto deal. When hundreds of millions of dollars from foreign-linked money flow into a business controlled by the president's family, while that president is conducting foreign policy, that's a national security concern. Full stop. That's the kind of situation that demands extra scrutiny, not less. So Meeks asks for something incredibly basic. Pause the bank charter or licensing process connected to this company. Heighten the scrutiny. Finish the conflict of interest and foreign influence reviews. Share the results with Congress. In other words, do your job and protect the public interest. And he makes it as simple as possible. Yes or no. And that's where the whole thing blows up. The Treasury Secretary refuses to commit, hides behind independent entities, runs out the clock, won't give a straight answer. And that refusal is the story. Because if there's nothing to hide, you don't dodge a yes or no question about oversight. You don't get defensive. You don't stonewall. You say, yes, of course we'll make sure this is clean.